Could you tell how has teaching evolved at the university, probably during your time here? Hi guys and welcome to Coffee with President. I'm Syed, your Guild President here at University of Birmingham. So this podcast is about real conversations with the people shaping our university. In each episode, we're going to dive into stories and decisions and visions that impact student life. Today, I'm joined by Professor Deborah Longworth and Mark Senior. Hi guys.
Hi,
Hi.
Syed.
Thank you
How
for
are you
having
guys
us.
doing today?
Very well, thank you. Yeah,
Fair.
enjoying the nice sunshine.
So I'm just going to start with Deborah. So Deborah, since you're the Pro-Vice-Chancellor for Education, could you tell how has teaching evolved at the university, probably during your term here?
So I've been at the university over 25 years, so it's changed a lot during that time. I remember our 100th anniversary on campus, as well as our 125th. I think one of the biggest changes in terms of actual teaching, delivery and student learning is all of the innovation in education technology. So when I first came to the university, I think we just had email. I had a computer, but students wouldn't have come to class with laptops at all. I teach English literature, so a typical teaching session would be students coming to my office. They would have lectures where they would just write with pen and paper, and I would use things called overhead projector sheets, which won't mean anything to you at all. Acetates, where we would sort of write things and project them onto the screen. And then in seminars, students would come with sort of pen and pad and sit in my office and we'd talk that way. There wasn't none of the Canvas resource and all of those things that really help students actually so much more in terms of education. If you wanted things from the library, you couldn't link to that electronically. You had to literally go and hope the book was there and somebody else in your course hadn't got it out and all of that. So massive developments in that. Sure. And they've evolved over time. I think dramatically now, obviously, we've got AI, which is the sort of, again, a similar shift.
I was just going to say ChatGPT.
Yes, so that's a big shift now, very recently, and all universities, I think, are trying to work through both the real opportunities of that and some of the challenges as well. But I think that's what's been significant, most obviously in teaching delivery. I think the other thing I would say is that the widening participation and access to university is something that has really been significant over the last, certainly sort of 15 years, I think. So you have much wider access, much more diverse cohorts, and that's a real positive.
Oh, thanks, Deborah. Since you explained about how universities have evolved, what do you think are the biggest challenges in terms of opportunities for the university, in the coming 5-10 years?
I think one of the things we see, we're seeing it very much now, and I think it will carry on over 5 years, definitely. Universities being asked to do more and more. So, back in those olden days that I was talking about, you were an academic in your discipline area, and you were focused on your program and the content for your discipline. And I would say we were not thinking overtly and explicitly about embedding employability into the curriculum. Yes, if you're a very particular, employability focused program, like medicine or law or something. But now we're doing that with everyone. But universities are also being asked to support, students' health and well-being, rightly, to be able to support students through the cost of living crisis, and these things aren't going to go away quickly. Yeah. So I think part of our challenge is there's what people might see of as the core bit of the job, and I think employability and preparing students for employability is part of that, but also the kind of wider supporting students in life to be able to study. I think we do a lot to support students at the university, but there's something, there's been a pandemic, there's cost of living crisis, there's obviously international challenges. There's a lot of additional things that we're trying to manage and support.
Around challenges, I might just pick one topic, if that's all right with you. Before you mentioned about widening participation, right? And now we're seeing that widening participation is this increase. Every university is kind of like working towards it. Now, in terms of that, now we've seen that there's an increase in challenges in the employability areas. So how is the university trying to overcome that for the students?
So we have quite specific programs for our Birmingham Scholar students. So those are students who come through our Pathways to Birmingham program. So that's really about helping them to understand and access the many other opportunities that the university provides, the different kinds of internship schemes and things like that. Many of those are open to all. We have some that are quite dedicated, that are funded by philanthropy and things like that to support certain groups of students. We've got a lot in that space. And of course, as you're aware, we've been doing our big Education 125 project and the development pathway through the curriculum that we're building there. And again, that's really aiming at helping each individual student to flourish in the right ways for them through access, through their progress through university and out into employment and life in the world.
Fair. I'm just going to come to Mark here because probably Mark's looking at me like, when is this guy going to ask me a question? Mark, so you're the chief of staff here at the University of Birmingham. It's a big role, but I quite didn't understand like what the role does. Do you want to, can you explain me what does your role do in the university?
What is the chief of staff? It's probably my most frequently asked question. Yeah, it's a great job title, if nothing else, isn't it?
Oh, it looks like chief of staff. It looks like a very big role.
Yeah, so it's not a military role like it would be in government and so on. So it really means that I work closely with Adam, the Vice-Chancellor, and others in the executive team to sort of help them get the agenda done for the university. But I lead a whole bunch of teams who support the running of the university as an organisation, really. So the executive office, the planning team, legal services, sustainability, governance, the change team, people like that. In practice, what it means is I get involved in loads of different things in the university, which is the great fun thing about the role. So I'm leading with Deborah our 125th anniversary programme, which is a lot of fun.
We're going to come around that for
we'll come back to that in a moment. I oversee the writing of the university's long-term strategy and all the planning that comes alongside that. And then through to things like engaging with the Office for Students as our regulator, and as part of that, leading freedom of speech for the university, which is something we're really committed to. So I oversee our code of practice for free speech and the decisions that we make under that. It's really important to us that we uphold freedom of speech and academic freedom for the whole of the university community. And it's quite a challenging job at times, but we're really committed to it and to do everything we can to kind of permit people's speech and to support them to sort of say the things that they need to say and want to say.
How do you manage so many responsibilities? Quite a challenge over there.
Delegating lots.
Fair enough. Just coming on the 125th year, I know, trust me, I've seen so much of celebration within the university. I wanted to speak to you guys about the 125th. Probably, Mark, this is for you. In terms of, what do you think the university's charter is for the
Yeah, so the university was sort of founded by royal charter, so it was originally signed off by the king at the time, and in some ways that's kind of stayed with us down this sort of 125 years. This kind of the longevity, the sort of grandeur of the university. But fundamentally, what the charter actually talks about is that we're there for research and for education. They're the two things that the university exists for. And in some ways that's really simple, but actually it's quite profound that that's what we do. Those two things link really closely together. And it means that we're a university of advancement and knowledge and contributing to society and advancing things. I do a lot of work on the professional services side of the university, the people who aren't the academics, who are so crucial to running the whole of the organisation. And with that group, we talk all the time about the importance of research and education. That's what drives it. We don't exist for the sake of being a university. We exist because we want to make breakthroughs and be pioneering and teach the next generation and influence the world around us and so on. So for me, the charter is something that sort of stood the test of time over many years for that reason.
Wasn't the charter again recently signed? It was somewhere in the what's near the city?
In the Exchange?
Yeah, in Exchange.
That's right. So we created something called the Civic Charter, which we signed with local sort of major organisations like the City Council and the Combined Authority, which was really about reaffirming our commitment as a university to the city of Birmingham, which is the kind of thing which makes us who we are, really, is the city that we're in. So yeah, we sat as part of the anniversary celebrations, we did that. Yeah.
my signature had to be there, but then I had to miss it because of the trustee board meeting. I was just like, oh, my signature is going to be there within the university, but that's all right. This probably is like a wider question to both of you. Like, what achievements stand out most for our university in the 125th history? You can have separate answers, or you could be say.
Do you want to go first?
So sort of over time, you mean, all of the... Well, we often like to talk about being a university of first. I think that's something that we've picked up a little bit through the campaign, and I think it's a very early achievement, but we were the first medical school that had women medics to graduate, and I think that was a huge achievement, and that really significant. And our medical school does a lot in widening participation today, so I think they've continued that legacy, which is really great.
Let me give a plug first of all, which is for the new exhibition that we've created in the Aston Webb building in the corridors along there, which really talks about the achievements of the university as seen through the eyes of the people who've animated and lived the university over many years. So that's the place to go to find the best answer to the question. Actually, it's fantastic. It's
I've
really
seen
great.
that they've painted blue.
Yeah, and there's all sorts down there. It's really great. I mean, there's loads of things we could choose. We've got 10 Nobel Prize winners. One thing we did recently was celebrate 25 years of the Access to Birmingham programme, which really was a pioneering programme in the university sector when it first started, all about bringing students from disadvantaged backgrounds and giving them the best possible opportunity to get into the university. So I think that's well worth sort of highlighting. And sort of semi-linked to that is we opened our own secondary school in sixth form 10 years ago. And that's been a fantastic success. I would say it's almost unique in the city in terms of the kind of education that it provides for pupils of all abilities. It's not a selective school.
Sure.
So I think that's something that we should be really proud of as a university.
Fair. In terms of like birthdays, we usually give something to our friends and families and stuff. What has the university done for its students this year as the 125th birthday of the university?
So we've co-organised the 125th steering group this year, so that's been a lot of fun. And we've had a number of areas of work that we've been looking at, and some's been focused on education and students, some on taking our research out to the community, global community as well. I think some of the activity with the students in particular, Alex, obviously, as education officer, led an initiative, brilliant initiative, to have our really great researchers across the university bringing their knowledge to the student community. So along with Rachel O'Reilly, who's my equivalent PVCR, they coordinated a series of TED-style academic lectures for students just to come, sort of enrichment lectures. So that was fantastic, and we'll continue that as we move forward into next year. And then we've had lots of fun activity as well. I mean, obviously we run the summer programme now anyway. We launched that last year, but we've really been able to add more into that programme this year. So the community festival, which was fantastic, and the concert.
Oh, yeah, I was there for it.
Concert in the evening. Old Joe lit up with the University Orchestra playing Lord of the Rings was probably the best moment for me. Others probably preferred UB40 and Black Sabbath. But, so there's a lot of fun as well. And I think it's been a real opportunity to articulate the community of the university. The university loves Old Joe. Students love Old Joe. We love Old Joe.
Definitely.
And I bored everybody for months in the planning, because I had this idea that we could light Old Joe up so he twinkled like the Eiffel Tower. We couldn't quite do that because he's very tall, and it would take a lot of fairy lights. But we did light him up at the beginning of the year, and he glowed different colours every evening. That was great.
Old Joe's iconic. Like, I did get one of the pins just to it for my graduation.
Yeah.
The Old Joe ones. My next question would be around how university talks about civic duty, right? So how are we engaging with alumni, local communities, and like global network in this milestone year?
Yeah, so we've done loads for all those different groups in the anniversary year. And one of the things that we're really trying to create is a real sense of pride in the university, in everything that we do. And I think Old Joe actually lighting up was a great idea, because it really did sort of do that. It went sort of globally in terms of social media and so on. We've had global alumni gatherings all over the world this year. We've had global leaders dialogues that we've been doing in different parts of the world. So they've gone down really well. I think the community day that preceded the concert was all about trying to bring diverse local communities onto campus, lots of whom wouldn't normally come to campus, and something we're always aware of, and we want it to be as welcoming as possible for people.
I was there in the morning, and around 9 a.m. near the Green Heart, there were the kids, and they were explaining about insects, and there was like this puzzle going on. It was really cute.
It was brilliant.
It was really
my,
nice.
My kids I couldn't drag them away from the sort of pond dipping where they were trying to identify the different insects from the Bournebrook.
Exactly. It was around that. Probably my final question to you guys would be, if the university had a personality after 125 years, what would that be?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think in many ways a university like this reflects the city that it's in, doesn't it? And I think that creates opportunities and challenges. Let's be honest. But I think we can be quite modest and possibly too modest at times. I think that's the point that you would make, Deborah, isn't it? In the sort of slightly self-effacing way that Birmingham has, but also a sort of real deep-rooted sense of pride in who we are, which is also a real character of Birmingham. A bit of a sense of humour. I think fundamentally, like Birmingham, we're a very grounded, practical university, and that goes back to the very founding roots of the organisation, where it was about creating a university for the industries and for the trades, and to train up people into those, rather than just being a sort of elite academic institution. I think that sort of stayed through our sort of DNA down the years. It's not just research for the sake of it, but research to make a difference, and similarly on the education side of things.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. I think as well, we're a really collaborative university, genuinely. So I think there was something about being one university, and I talk to my counterparts in other universities, and colleges and disciplines and faculties are often quite separate, and they think quite separately and they act quite separately, and that's appropriate at times. But I think we work really collaboratively across our academic and professional services staff, with our students as well. Worked incredibly closely with you and Alex this year in particular in education. So for me, I think it would be something about being that one university and seeing ourselves with that one collective identity.
Thank you guys so much for being here today. And that brings us to the end of the episode. Huge thank you to Deborah and Mark for being here and sharing the visions of the university. The 125 years is a big success from the baseline. I've been there, I've seen the community day, and in terms of engagement, it's amazing. Thank you for planning that, though. So if you've enjoyed the conversation, give it a like and share with your friend. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.